Welcome to the Goal Podcast, the podcast for serious soccer players and their supporters to help further their development and navigate their way throughout their soccer career.
Welcome into another episode of New England Soccer Journal's The Goal Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Langone, joined as usual by Matt Doherty. Matt, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. And today we're joined by two guests, founder of Pliable Marketing, Greg Glynn, and Charlotte Belanger, who will be a freshman at Maine, playing for Maine women's soccer this fall, and she recently just signed on with Pliable Marketing. So Greg and Charlotte, how are you guys?
Good, how are you doing?
Excellent.
Good.
Thanks for having us, guys.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us. We got four voices here, so we'll try to control everything as best we can. But Charlotte, just walk us through kind of how you got started with Pliable and, why that was enticing for you and what you're hoping to accomplish with it.
Well, Greg reached out to me a couple months ago, I'd say, and it was at a busy time, so it took me a little bit to figure everything out if there was something I was interested in. And then a girl from my high school reached out because she also worked with Greg with the Maine Lobster Bowl, and she reached out to me and she said she had everything good to say about it, how he's helped her and how it's been very successful very quickly. And then, so I reached back out to Greg, and then we had a couple calls, and then he came down and we met each other, and we met people at Aroma Joe's as well. And then I got the deal with Aroma Joe's.
That's pretty awesome. And NIL is obviously a big deal in college sports right now. So for you going into your freshman year already, you haven't even really arrived at me. And you said you're going to be there next week, right? As we record this, you'll be there next week. How cool is it to just kind of have this already on the resume right now before you even arrive at Maine?
Yeah, it's great to have something already on the resume for NIL because it's a big deal and it's a growing thing within college athletics. So it's good to already have something. And then with Greg by my side too, for someone to help me out with it.
Greg, I'm curious, why Charlotte? Why did you kind of reach out to her, and from your end, how did that partnership start?
Yeah, so interestingly enough, obviously very focused on women's sports. I have a 13-year-old daughter, so I've seen the inequality in women's sports, and it's really important to me to find athletes that want to do NIL, do it the right way. As I recruit, I'm looking for good athletes that are great people, and I had done my homework on Charlotte. Charlotte actually was even connected to a former pliable athlete, Mia Tarenko at the University of New Hampshire, who I heard great things about the family and everything like that. And I knew she was going to play at the University of Maine. And I was like, you know what? I've been wanting to get, some more athletes up at the University of Maine. I feel like Maine athletes have an opportunity here, especially with Pliable being based in Maine, to try and really take a really strong hold on NIL. I work already with Noah Carpenter and Jace Negley on the football team up there at the University of Maine. And now the fact, by the way, guys, kind of recent news here, this is amazing stuff, is that University of Maine has decided to opt in on the NIL house settlement and actually award what could be up to $20.5 million to their athletes in NIL money. Now, most of it, imagine, is probably going to go to football and basketball and hockey, right? But that's what I love about working with Charlotte is we're kind of changing people's perceptions about what NIL can be. It doesn't have to go always to the football team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a great point, Greg. And Charlotte, do you feel like this is empowering? I mean, because like Greg said, female sports, for this to happen to a women's soccer player, how empowering is that for you? When you see any of your other teammates, if this happens for them, how empowering will that be for you?
Yeah, it feels very special to be a part of, and something, or even to be part of the start of something that could potentially grow, especially within my team even and other soccer programs.
Greg, you said you had one daughter, or how many daughters do you have?
One daughter. That's good
Does she
enough
play
for
soccer
now.
as well? Does she play soccer?
She started out playing youth soccer. She really didn't take hold to it. She actually does more dance right now, but it's actually enabled me to have her meet all these wonderful athletes. She's already met Charlotte.
Yeah.
She came into where she works down at Old Orchard. We made a family day of it. And it's really inspiring, I think, for her to see what this next generation is doing. She already has an Instagram account, right? She knows, how this all works. And so she's really excited, obviously, and inspired by the athletes I work with. And they're such great role models that also helps them to realize that they are important, and that they can inspire the next generation. So that's been really exciting to see. The other thing I'll add into this, guys, that's unique and especially to soccer is that the international athletes right now, because of visa issues, cannot do NIL. So you have athletes who are from other countries that would die to try and have the opportunities to do NIL, build their athlete brand, do these name, image, and likeness opportunities. Charlotte already has a teammate I've been talking to. She's actually going to be an intern for the Lobster Bowl. She's an international player, and she's going to end up probably helping Charlotte because she's a marketing student and wishes she could do it. So now she's going to get a chance to at least, help a teammate, which I think will be really cool.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
That's awesome. So Aroma Joe's, how did that all come together? Like, are you an Aroma Joe's fan, Charlotte? And
Yeah,
sort of
well,
Greg
there's
helps
an-
with that. Like, why did you get signed on that as your first deal?
They have a great relationship with Greg and Pliable, so that helped me get in as well. So I live about 10 minutes away from one now, and there's also one up in Orono. So that's the connection there. So there's locations at home and when I'll be at school.
And what are you going to be doing with them? Like, what are
I'm
your
a community
responsibilities?
ambassador, so like promoting them and like promoting positivity for them.
On
This
social
is kind of-
media or like going into the store and doing stuff?
I believe it's gonna be, I don't know, Greg might have to help me out with this. I think it's gonna be a mix of both for that. You have to make like a certain amount of posts for them to give back to them, and promote them.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's one of the unique things that Aroma Joe's has done. I will give them a lot of credit. They have been ahead of NIL here in the state of Maine, especially in New England, than most brands. And one thing they wanted to do that was unique was they wanted to have community ambassadors rather than like, hey, buy this product, get this free, whatever it is. They wanted it to be a lot more authentic. So they create a community ambassador program that I helped them build, where they now are empowering athletes to be much more involved in their communities than they would be before. So picture programs like Travis Mills Foundation, Make-A-Wish. There's just so many other community activities they want to support. They just then get to partner with the athletes who have the relationships with those communities. And then that's how they strengthen the bond in those communities, which is why Saco and Orono are really perfect for Charlotte, because she's going to be already entrenched, in those communities. So people will recognize who she is and what she does.
Charlotte, was going to college in Maine, was that important to you, staying in your home state, or were you looking at other schools?
Yeah, at first, when I first started recruiting, like my sophomore year, my freshman year, it wasn't something I was necessarily like, I wasn't looking to stay in Maine. I looked at a lot of schools. I wanted to stay in the East, but I wasn't necessarily looking at UMaine, and it wasn't like top of my list. But then I reached out to Coach Atherley a little bit late in the recruiting process because it wouldn't hurt, just something to do. And he coaches a club team here in Maine, which was my previous club team. So I know the coaches there pretty well. So I went to one of those practices and met him there, and I loved his coaching style. So then that's when I reached out to him, and then I went up for a visit and loved it there. So that's why I chose that.
It's funny because like a state like Maine, I talked to, after Vermont won the men's national championship, I talked to, head coach Rob Dow about what was happening with their NIL, if there was any opportunities. Because, Vermont's a small state that rallies behind their state school. So there's recognition with those athletes. I imagine there could be some of that in Maine too. I mean, in Maine they don't have any professional, they don't have like a Big Four professional sports team. But I imagine there's probably a lot of pride with the state university. Do you feel like, is that the sense you get right now?
Yeah. And they're coming off back to back American East Championship wins. So it's like a good it feels great going into like a winning team. And the school is also like they're very up and coming with athletics as well.
Greg, do you feel like women's soccer players, is that a lot of players that you think you're Pliable will represent? Is that a target sport for you guys in terms of female athletes?
Yeah, so interesting enough, I'm glad you mentioned the University of Vermont because Max Murray is a Pliable athlete.
Right, Kennebunkport, right? He's from
Kennebunkport, and now plays for New York City FC. Yeah, so I think that's kind of an opportunity where, again, I started to get into soccer. He was one of the first soccer athletes I started to work with. And then obviously working with Charlotte. The idea really, as I kind of said before, is like, I'm looking for good athletes that are great people. I mean, I've got 6 field hockey players that I work with. I mean, this isn't for me going after the big fish. It's like, I want to go after the people that want to do it well, and want to grow their brand and, have a future career. And it doesn't have to be a pro sports career. It's great if it, obviously works out that way for the athlete, but that's not the goal here. The goal is building these life skills and opportunities you're going to have as an athlete. I was an athlete. I wish I could have had these opportunities, and so I want to give these athletes that opportunity.
Where do you think, where's NIL going? I mean, it's obviously been a huge topic in the college sports world over the last few years. Like, big picture, in a year from now, 2 years from now, like, how big is it going to get, and sort of the direction is, and coinciding that with Charlotte, she has 4 years of college coming up. Like, what's kind of the plan for her as NIL continues to grow in college sports?
Yeah, so I'll start with NIL first, and then talk about Charlotte and let her chime in too on kind of her vision for these 4 years. Is the idea that NIL right now, especially after this House versus NCAA settlement, where now there's 20.5 million, that are going to be given out basically to athletes on campuses for the schools that do opt in. As I mentioned earlier, UMaine has opted in. I'm very curious to see what that's going to look like. But then what's going to happen is I think you're going to see a lot less parity in college football because you're going to get these big name schools that are going to just continue to dominate. They're going to pay out the big money. They're also going to go and get other businesses, brands, or what we call collectives, which are glorified booster clubs, to basically supplement the income for those athletes to be able to give them more money when they want to sign a big player. They're going to go and try and figure out how to make that happen, right? Sometimes you're going to see, I think, sports like the, as we say, non-revenue generating sports. That's where it's going to be more up to the athlete to go and proactively find a NIL marketing agent, learn how to do this themselves, and then take advantage of these opportunities. So I think that it's going to continue to really flourish in the revenue generating sports. And then in the non-revenue generating sports, obviously like women's soccer, where Charlotte is going to be building her brand, that's going to be what you make of it. And I tell the athletes I work with all the time, Charlotte knows this, you drive the bus. If you want to go 100 miles an hour, I mean, Katie Shanahan, 20 NIL deals as a field hockey player at Quinnipiac University. You want to just network, you want to build, relationships. That's cool too. So Charlotte, I'll let you kind of talk about your vision, over the next 4 years, which, by the way, guys, that was also appealing to me with Charlotte, right? Is this isn't a 1 or 2 year kind of situation where she's at UMaine. We're going to go and we're going to build this thing out. So go ahead, Charlotte.
Yeah, well, it's nice to get it started early rather than coming into this my junior or senior year of college where I only have a couple years of eligibility left. So going in we started while I was still in high school, actually. So going in and getting into this all early, I think is a great opportunity, and I can be able to grow it a lot more.
Yeah, that's a good point. I would think too, is it something, Greg, maybe you can answer this, but like once you get that kind of the first NIL deal, I mean, do you feel like the floodgates will open a little bit? I mean, is there more opportunities for players after you get that first one kind of under your belt?
Yeah, usually it takes what I call a starter deal. It could be something small. It could be even just repping a brand, maybe some affiliate marketing stuff. And those deals are out there. We could do a whole podcast on all the NIL opportunities and how to go get them. But the idea that Charlotte has signed with Aroma Joe's, like, that's an amazing deal to kick off her partnership with them. And then that really puts her on the map. She already has some other brands that we're looking at to be able to work with. And so having, as you said, Matt, one that gets you started, as I like to say, it shows people you're open for business. And then usually they will start to come in after that, or what the athlete wants to do, because I go over a profile of over 100 questions, which includes your favorite, brands from morning till night that you touch.
Right.
And we go through that process. So there's definitely opportunities, and I'm really grateful, to be able to work with Charlotte, and I'm really excited about what she's going to be able to do.
Located 8 miles outside of Philadelphia, Haverford College provides a collaborative, ethical, and academically rigorous environment where student agency and leadership can thrive. Our men's lacrosse program promotes the college mission because leadership drives you to become the best version of yourself. Leadership nurtures growth and accountability. Leadership adapts to overcome challenges in an ever-changing world. We are Haverford College Men's Lacrosse, and leadership is in our DNA.
I imagine with this, pressure might not be the right word, but now you want to also produce on the field too, to show that, you're an athlete and you're a soccer player. So how much does this, in your estimation, does this add pressure to you going into your freshman season, or does it make you want to produce even more or compete even harder? What's kind of your outlook?
I kind of see it as like kind of like a motivator, because I want to be able to perform on the field and then to show, because then that could grab more brands' attention if I also put in the work on the field. So it is a little bit of a stress knowing that I have to like succeed in certain things, but I think it's a good thing that I have in like the back of my mind.
You mentioned it's like you have a client that has 20 deals. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
What's a realist? Is that like an extreme amount? Like what's kind of the middle ground, I guess? Like, is it a lot, especially as a student athlete? Like, how do you juggle that and sort of like what's the amount that Charlotte wants to aim, like that you want to aim for, that you feel like is appropriate for Charlotte, or how do you kind of divide that between the athletes of how many deals you get?
Yeah, that's a great question, Matt. So what I always say is, they drive the bus. Katie's a go-getter. There is no doubt about it. She wants to crush. She wants to get into medical sales. So she has a vision of, promoting herself, promoting products. Like that's what she wants to do. Yeah. So she's using that as a platform to gain experience, represent these brands. Mm-hmm. And then the other thing that she's doing, which I also envision for Charlotte here at some point, is that she's hosting camps and clinics. So this is a great way, especially for soccer players, to come back home or even in their college town to host clinics and camps, so that then they can come and learn from these great college athletes how to play the sport and then build that relationship. I mean, Katie right now has over 100 campers that come to her camps and clinics, so if you start building it, like Charlotte was saying, early, and you start to build up these clients that could come in the door for her, now she's going to be able to do something over the summer and have more income and also be training and keeping in shape at the same time. So it's like a win-win. And watch, we talked a little bit about where's NIL headed. Watch how many more camps and clinics a lot of athletes are going to start to produce. And that's one of the things I help her with as well.
That's interesting. So it is kind of like it's case to case person, or that thing you said of you drive your own bus, like it's sort of,
you drive your own bus.
Whenever you want on your plate, you can
so
handle. Okay.
To answer the question more specifically, I would say that Katie's kind of in a class by herself, just unbelievable what she's done on a national level and everything like that. I would say it's more typical to have like 2 or 3 deals going on during the course of the year. I always help them balance, like in season, we're trying to produce content well before the season, so that then we're just making posts, right? It's not like she's going to go do photos and video shoots during her season. That's not going to happen, So you got to kind of know what you got going into the year. And then if things come up, we can certainly take advantage of those. But I'm always mindful as an athlete, like it's on the field, it's in the classroom first. And then this is a nice add-on, cherry on top.
Charlotte, you played at Thornton Academy and for Seacoast, right? Club soccer for Seacoast. Kind of describe to us your game as a player, and how does maybe your personality show through on the field?
I enjoy like picking up my teammates and like before every game, I like make the playlist. I bring the speaker. Like I like being the one to like be able to pick up my teammates and like get everyone ready. Cause then that makes it fun for everyone. Like before games, like in the locker rooms, like those are like the funnest parts of the game almost. And that's like what I look forward to.
What when you went on your visit to Maine or your official visit, what
Yeah.
kind of drew you into that program?
The team, like seeing the team culture and like the relationship with the coaches, like there was nothing like to complain about or like see that would ever go wrong. Like the team, they were all like sisters with each other and everyone picked each other up. Like I went to one of their practices. It was a 6 a.m. practice, but everyone was happy to be there.
That's saying something. 6 a.m. practices aren't fun.
I know.
Those aren't fun to be at. Matt, did you have one you wanted to hop in with?
Yeah, just for Charlotte, like sort of, you're starting this new chapter in your life.
Yeah.
Next week, you said you're going to school.
Yeah.
Now you have this NIL deal. Like, what are you sort of looking forward to for your freshman year, and what do you want to accomplish as a player, as a student, as a person? Like, what are kind of your goals heading into your first year in college?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to like just like a new start. Like obviously the past couple years have been hard, like with playing with club, but it's been very comfortable. So I'm excited to get out of my comfort zone. And I've like worked very hard for this. So I was excited to see it's like finally paying off and like getting to college is finally here.
What does your family think of the whole NIL thing and the Aroma Joes and just
Yeah.
working with Pliable? I imagine your friends and family must think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, they all think it's really cool. And my parents think it's a great opportunity.
You said you kind of started to think about this in high school a little bit. When were you, like, how old was it? Junior year of high school, you're starting to think of NIL stuff, or when did you really kind of start to consider this?
I've always known about it because it's been a growing thing, obviously, the past couple years, but I started with Greg towards the end of my senior year.
Hmm.
And the other thing too, talking about that, Matt, is a lot of what I know is going to start to happen with this whole trend of what's next for NIL is you're going to see a lot more high school athletes looking at these college athletes and going, oh, I wonder how I could do that when I get to college. And the point is, much like Charlotte has identified, is if you start early, you get to campus and you're already running rather than walking, all of a sudden you're going to have a much better chance because at the end of the day, as you guys know from social media, like you've got to have followers. It's going to be hard to do NIL if you don't have followers and if you haven't built your brand and you understand how to make posts and stuff like that. So it's a great opportunity for a high school athlete or a family to learn about it because I'm big on education, right? And like making sure they understand not everybody's going to get rich on this. Like that's not, in my mind, the goal. If that happens, cool, right? But at the end of the day, as Charlotte said about her family, they realized that this was an awesome opportunity for her.
Yeah, Charlotte, do you
Greg,
think there are certain
Talk about.
like life skills that you'll pick up that will help you
Yeah.
post college or help you get a job? Like, do you feel like having this part of your life, like, how do you feel like that's gonna help you professionally down the road?
Yeah, I also signed with Pliable because I'm a business major as well. So I
It's
realized
for
that
major,
yeah, these skills will be something with my major, especially will be something I need for the rest of my life and my future career. So getting like a lot of practice with it early, I'd say, is going to help me in the future as well.
Greg, do you have athletes reaching out to you guys, or are you more recruiting athletes, or how does that whole process work?
Yeah, so it's a little bit of both. Obviously, growing the brand, since NIL started, and growing the agency. I work with over 35 athletes now across the country, wide range of sports, like I said. And, I will get interest. I will say a big shout out to Aroma Joe's because they start to see all these ambassadors. Right now, there's total of 10 that they have signed over the course of this program. And right now, what'll happen is somebody will look at one of those posts and go, how did that happen? Or they'll reach out to the athlete and say, oh, well, I'm working with Pliable. That's how it happened. Because right now, I'm the only exclusive agency that's working with Aroma Joe's on NIL partnerships. So that's one way that Aroma Joe's is keeping the integrity. They know who I'm recruiting, which allows them to save a ton of time and a ton of headaches on who are we bringing in, who's our next ambassador. They already know what they're getting because they've been successful in the past. And So I would say it's a mix of both. I do also recruit. I have my eye on athletes like Charlotte that I want to be able to help. And I know, and I'm watching, social media, just like all these brands are, who's doing what, who's being respectful, who's got good posts, who's got bad posts, who's interacting with, fans, family, friends. How are they, interacting? And that's kind of what helps me recruit.
What social media is it primarily on? Is it Instagram, or are you kind of like, we're big X people here as journalists, but I'm like TikTok, like what is the driving pathway right now for that?
Yeah, so I'll speak
I'm
to that.
guessing.
Yeah, and then let Charlotte go here. So the idea is Instagram right now, I like to say, is a currency. The number of followers you have is going to lead to how much money you're going to potentially get or how many brand deals you're going to be able to do. TikTok's another one, that definitely has come on strong in the past few years. Obviously, there's a little bit of stuff in flux right now with that. But then the idea is that X, as you mentioned, is also another platform that I think that athletes, as they come out of recruiting, should continue to maintain, because they've actually built quite a following on X because of the recruiting process. Charlotte, maybe you can speak to your social media and kind of how you used it and why it's now become actually pretty valuable to you.
For recruiting, we use X as well, but mostly this website called Sports Recruit. So that's something that I couldn't necessarily use. But for me, I think Instagram is like the biggest one out of all my social media that I could grow the most.
Interesting. So TikToks was TikTok a thing too, or is what's
Yeah,
yeah,
that one isn't as big
not
for
as,
me.
not as prominent?
Yeah.
Yeah, it takes a certain personality to get out there on TikTok.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, I don't have that personality, but some people do. I mean, is it? This is you're early in on it, Charlotte. But is it even though the world of kind of recruiting and getting yourself online, because back
Yeah.
in Matt D's day and my day when you were playing sports, it was just like whoever saw you
Not
saw you.
bad
There were no
all.
highlights there. You couldn't really put yourself out there. Is that hard these days to navigate, like having to get yourself out there and get yourself
Yeah.
noticed like that?
Yeah, with Seacoast, they had us start it super early. Like we set up our profiles online probably, I'd
Yeah.
say my freshman year even. And then we'd go to showcases, put all of our games online there. Then we'd just like send over the links to as many coaches as we wanted. Starting
Yeah.
like probably my sophomore year and the end of my freshman year, there'd be like college coaches lined up on our sidelines during like all of our showcase games.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so Seacoast kind of like held your hands through it though. They kind of
Yeah, they did a very well
Yeah.
done job with it. Yeah.
I think that's another thing you touched on, Matt, and that's another part of athlete branding that has changed, since you guys and since I, played
Yeah.
sports, is like you were just trying to get recruited, and it was like letters in the mail and stuff, right?
Right.
Now
Right.
it's like instantaneous. It's like, where are your highlights from today's game? Like that's
Yeah.
how fast these coaches and these schools are looking at athletes, and you've got to market yourself.
I
If
know.
you don't, nobody else will. So
Mhm.
you have to take that into account. And I help athletes with that process. Maddie Niles is a great example from Lawrence High School. She now has over 12 NIL deals. And I feel strongly that she's now going to play D1 at Merrimack field hockey because she made herself more marketable through NIL, through her video, her recruitment video that I did for her. She obviously was emailing coaches, like Charlotte said. That's like a full-time job to get recruited now. It is completely changed.
Well, that's right. I mean, it's crazy. It just seems like another, like when you're 15, 16, 17, 18,
Yeah.
that's stressful, I feel like. And it's a
Right.
lot to navigate. So,
It is. Yeah.
yeah. Matt, do you got anything?
I'm all set. This is a good conversation.
Oh,
Yeah,
good. Well,
I
hey,
learned a lot. Thank you guys.
we appreciate you guys joining us today. I know it's busy, and Charlotte, I know you had to get to the airport today, so I'm glad you
Yes.
were able to cut. How far is
I
Portsmouth?
could make it.
Yeah,
About
Portsmouth's not
45
far.
minutes.
Yeah.
Not
that's
too bad.
Not bad. Not bad. So you'll be on campus next week. You excited?
Yes. Yes, I'm really excited. I'm nervous, but I think the nerves are good.
Yeah.
Are you going for good? Like that takes you right into the fall? Like
Yeah.
you're-
Yeah.
Okay. So do you start training next
Yeah.
week?
We start training a week from today, actually.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice. It's
Wow.
exciting.
I know. I'm very excited.
Well, we appreciate you guys. I'm sure we'll be in contact, and Charlotte, we'll be keeping tabs on how your freshman season goes, obviously, but we appreciate you joining us. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks again to Charlotte Belanger and Greg Glynn for joining the podcast. I'm Matt Langone. Thanks for listening. New England Soccer Journal's The Gold Podcast is produced by David Yaz and is a Siemens Media production.
You've been listening to New England Soccer Journal's The Goal Podcast. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to our podcast. Or visit anysoccerjournal.com/podcast. Siemens Media. Inspiring, informative, insightful.